Oh, every time I think about the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I get a little bit upset. It's been nearly 25 years since the Fellowship released, and it still gives me the same feeling I felt the first time I watched it, which is a tiny bit of sadness and disgust. I'm sad I wasn't a part of the crew to create these movies, and I'm disgusted that the vast amount of films that's been pumped out since these were made haven't learned anything from them. We deserve better. The Lord of the Rings was written nearly 100 years ago by JRR Tolkien, and he spent many years crafting this timeless tale. It spawned quite a few adaptations, but the most beloved has been the cinematic trilogy directed by Peter Jackson in the early 2000s. As we're approaching the 25th anniversary of this trilogy, it amazes me just how much love and respect it still receives to this day. So many words have been spoken about these films, and I'm overjoyed there's still more to be said. There hasn't been a trilogy in all of cinema that has moved and inspired me like The Lord of the Rings. So let's take a journey through Middle-earth and discover the unmatched beauty of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, nearly 25 years later. I'll be talking about my favorite scene, shots, and lines of dialogue of each film. So let's dive in with... Picking a favorite scene from any of these films is a tough task, and it took me a while to narrow it down, just know that, okay? My favorite scene from The Fellowship is the death of Boromir and his final moments. I may get some flack here, but I've never read the books. I mainly know Lord of the Rings through this trilogy and In Deep Geek, which I love hearing the lore. Thank you so much for making that channel. So just keep that in mind with everything I'm about to say in this video. This scene is my favorite because of its weight and impact on the overall narrative. The entire time we've been with these characters, Aragorn didn't seem to care about his lineage or claim to the throne. He doesn't talk about it, and when it's brought up, he dismisses it.
This is no mere ranger. He is Aragorn, son of Arathorn, and heir to the throne of Gondor.
Have a dad.
And even Elrond mentions this.
One who could reclaim the throne of Gondor.
He turned from that path a long time ago. He's chosen exile.
And our introduction to Boromir starts off on a bad note because he seems to have resentment towards Aragorn, who the audience has already come to care about.
Gondor has no king. Gondor needs no king.
And as the movie goes on, we see Boromir's fear, which makes him very susceptible to the ring's influence. And we see Aragorn's compassion, strength, and loyalty. When Boromir speaks of men in the White City,
the lords of Gondor have returned.
And he later closes Frodo's hand when offered the ring, what a badass and a tearjerker. And yep, this was a runner-up for my favorite scene, by the way. So now Boromir puts his life on the line to protect Merry and Pippin. This specific moment is his personal redemption for his actions when trying to take the ring from Frodo. So with Boromir's final words, he goes from feeling complete darkness and sadness.
It is over. The world of men will fall, and all will come to darkness.
To being full of hope, and he acknowledges the shining light that is Aragorn, his king, who will lead his people to better days. This is the moment where Boromir redeems himself with the audience through his selflessness, faith, and love. And so Aragorn, with tears in his eyes, makes a promise to keep their people safe and accepts who he is as the king of men, something he's been denying.
I do not know what strength is in my blood, but I swear to you I will not let the White City fall, nor our people fail. Our people. Our people. I would have followed you, my brother. My captain. My king.
Oh, God.
This scene is tragic, hopeful, and beautiful. It completes the character arc for Boromir, which through his death sparks the fire in Aragorn, setting him on the path to becoming who he was born to be. I hope I expressed myself well enough. This scene just gets me on so many levels, and there's so much depth in the meaning of Boromir's death and his redemption. I could go on and on about this, but we must move forward. My favorite shot from The Fellowship is one that's probably not brought up much when talking about Lord of the Rings. It's in the beginning of the film when Gandalf arrives in the Shire, and it's this scene right here. The way the camera starts low and then rises, giving us a sense of scope to the surroundings and the beauty of the land, the little girl running through the grass shouting for Gandalf with utter joy and excitement and innocence. It shows us exactly what these characters are fighting for, what gives them the strength and the courage to keep moving forward when all they're surrounded by is death and darkness. And the music is just so wonderful. It sounds like love and happiness. It's a perfect match to the visuals. Howard Shore did an excellent job breathing life into these films. My favorite lines of dialogue from The Fellowship are spoken by none other than the wisest character in the trilogy, Gandalf the Grey, and he says them to Frodo in Moria.
Do not be too eager to deal out death and judgment. Even the very wise cannot see all ends.
Not only does this greatly influence Frodo throughout his journey, but these are words I believe all of us should hear in our lives. We tend to think we have all the answers, but we really don't, and accepting that fact is what creates room for growth and compassion. Every time we meet someone or experience something new, we're judging or making assumptions, whether we're conscious of it or not. This line actually reminds me of two other movies.
15 minutes ago, you knew that people were alone on this planet.
Imagine what you'll know tomorrow.
You know, there are as many ways to live as there are people in this world, and each one deserves a closer look.
I don't want to go too philosophical with this and yada yada. It's just a beautiful piece of writing, and the wisdom of these words cut deep, and Sir Ian McKellen delivers the dialogue with such heart. It's stayed with me since I was a kid. I love it. Also, did you know in this scene, Viggo Mortensen actually had to deflect this blade because... My favorite scene from The Two Towers is very popular, and with good reason. It's the lunch scene with Frodo, Sam, and Smeagol. It's spawned memes, it's highly quotable, and I quote it constantly, and when I'm cooking, I always say, or I think at least, if I only had a few good taters.
What's taters, precious? What's taters, eh?
Potatoes.
And you know the rest. I'll never not laugh when Smeagol says,
"Stupid fat hobbit, it ruins it."
with Sam's disgusted look. That killed me the first time I saw it. Oh my gosh. Anyways, the acting is so natural and real. I love it. But beyond all that, this scene is a lovely moment of well-needed rest, giving these characters a break from their harsh journey. Just prior to this scene, Smeagol takes control from Gollum, so he's bursting with relief and happiness. Dude, he's adorable, and he's just trying to help and be kind. And though Sam is still on guard and even a bit rude to him, you can see he's trying to give Smeagol a chance, a little bit. And look, even Frodo seems amused for a moment. It's a scene that just makes me smile and laugh, and we all need to do that no matter how stressed or down we may feel. And this is why it's my favorite scene in The Two Towers. Every time I watch it, though, I can't help but think they never got to eat that food, because Frodo leaves and they get caught by Faramir, and that food looked bomb too. Put a little beans on it, you know. Slop it over some cornbread, boy. Quit playing. So moving on to my favorite shot from Two Towers, it's this scene right here, when Elrond speaks to Arwen about her fate should she choose a mortal life with Aragorn. I could go on about the dialogue here, but we're focusing on the shot, and I love long, drawn-out shots. Always have, always will. It's an extremely sad shot, starting with Arwen gazing at Aragorn at his funeral, and as the camera pulls back, we're taken through time. The sky turns dark and the trees decay, the leaves falling like tears, and we see Arwen in black cloth flowing in the wind, alone and deserted in a house that no longer feels like home. The soundtrack fits so wonderfully, of course, but this is shot so well that you could put any sad song here and it'll still have that emotional impact. This shot is gorgeous. Period. My favorite lines of dialogue from Two Towers are spoken by none other than Legolas.
They run as if the very whips of their masters were behind them.
Isn't that just wonderful? It's masterclass writing. Say it to yourself a few times. They run as though the very whips of their masters were behind them. I'm totally messing. That line actually cracks me up. Every time it comes on, I laugh. On the real though, my favorite line is actually from Aragorn himself, and it's just a few simple words.
Ride out with me.
Helm's Deep is being overrun, and Theoden is beginning to lose all hope. But our main man Aragorn shows no fear, and with just a few words, brings out the courage and bravery of not only Theoden, but everyone in the room. Look at Gimli. Every time I hear these words, I get chills. I get hyped. I start using my pillow as a shield and my hanger as a sword, and I want to fight for Rohan. This shows just how influential and impactful Aragorn is as a leader. I can go on and on about this, but it's just amazing how a few words can completely change the hearts of those around you. Now, the last thing I'm gonna say here, if somebody can comment and let me know how true this is, because I've heard yes and I've heard no on this, but is it true that Theoden met Aragorn as a kid and always wanted to fight with him, but being so young, he was never allowed to? So when Theoden says,
"Let this be the hour when we draw swords together,"
that has a deeper meaning for the character because Theoden is finally given the opportunity to fight alongside his childhood hero. Like, how true is this? Because if it's true, it just skyrockets how awesome this scene is. So please let me know. Also, did you know in this scene, Viggo Mortensen actually broke his... My favorite scene in Return of the King is a fairly long one, and it's at the end. It starts here and ends here. I love this scene because it shows how happy the four hobbits are with returning to the Shire, and they go out for drinks and everything is the same. No one knows what they did, where they were, and they don't even care. It's almost as if everything they went through was a dream. It wasn't real. But we know, and they know it was. They carry the scars, whether on or underneath the surface, and all they have is each other. The Shire stayed the same, but they didn't. For better or for worse, they are the change. They're out of place in their own home. Merry and Pippin don't have pints. They're not dancing or causing a ruckus. It's kind of sad. But then we see the growth and the courage acquired through their journey as Sam gets up without saying a word and approaches Rosie. I love the look on the hobbits' faces when this happens. Time goes by and Sam marries her. Everyone is cheering as we focus on Frodo, whose smile fades into the lasting pain he's been carrying all this time. And his speech telling Sam he needs to be one and whole for many years, explaining why he needs to go and to not dwell on the sadness of his absence. It's so beautifully written and shot. It brings a tear to my eyes every time, and it just feels so real, and I relate to these words in many areas of my life. Yeah, I can go on and on about this, but it's just wonderful. It's beautiful, really. My favorite shots from Return of the King is when Gandalf rides out to save Faramir and his men from the Nazgul. The contrast between light and dark, the rays of Gandalf's staff breaking through that darkness, the horses of Gondor fiercely running away while Shadowfax is running towards, and the way the camera keeps up with all these pieces, giving us a sense of urgency and haste. The music fits so well, and the sound effect of the light going out is so badass too. It's just a magical moment, and I'll never forget the chills it gave me when I saw it on the big screen. It felt like I was there. Whew. I absolutely love it. My favorite line of dialogue from Return of the King comes from the king himself. As he begins to set out into the mountain, Éowyn shows her worry and dismay of his departure, revealing what everybody already knows, which is that she's falling in love, which Aragorn responds with,
It is but a shadow and a thought that you love. I cannot give you what you seek.
All these years of rewatching this trilogy, that line still gets me. What a badass way to reject someone, and I really mean no disrespect when I say badass in this regard, because this is obviously a tremendous emotional blow to Éowyn, and I know her heart breaks a bit here, but like, who says that? And it's spoken so calmly and confidently and true. It's just so powerful and poetic that the best word I can use is that it's just poetic. Like it's the most poetic way to tell someone we will never be together. Our man Aragorn is cold to the bone. He stabs hearts with his sword and breaks them with his words. And as I wrote this, I realized sword and words are the same letters. Anywho, I love this line. It's so well written, and Viggo's delivery is just masterclass. I'll never forget the feeling I had watching this trilogy for the first time in theaters all those years ago. I was 11 years old, and all I knew about Middle-earth was the old animation of The Hobbit, which my mother showed me as a kid. And I had no idea what I was getting into, and honestly, I didn't even know there were 3 books. So during Fellowship, I thought Gandalf was gone forever, and when the credits rolled on Fellowship, I remember saying, "What the heck?" Because the story wasn't finished. You know, I didn't know 2 more were coming. I was so upset. But the sense of adventure I felt watching these films for the first time is an experience I'll always cherish. The Lord of the Rings is timeless. It was crafted by a man who was passionate and put to film by a crew who understood that passion and did their best to show its beauty. I truly don't believe we'll see anything like it for a very, very long time. And even then, it'll still be remembered. This is storytelling. This is art. This is cinema. This is The Lord of the Rings. Thanks everyone for watching. Which movie is your favorite of the trilogy? What's your favorite scenes, dialogue, or shots? And just know this was extremely difficult to write because there's just so many amazing moments in these movies that I was juggling for days. It was so tough, but I certainly had fun making it. And if you like what you heard, please like and subscribe. Y'all have a wonderful day. Peace out.